The 2023 Game Awards nominations were announced by none other than the Dorito Pope himself, Jeff Keighley, standing at the Kodak Theater, which is where the one of those shows are held. Emmys, Oscars. What's going on here?
Thought that'd be good music for you to announce.
Not the whole thing. Not the way we're going to talk about it.
Nintendo
Oh boy, just stop.
New segment.
Just stop it.
Cool.
Okay, I'll go with that. So we got the nominees, and I'm not going to do every category, but I will read you some of them, and I thought we should talk about them. I guess we'll start with Game of the Year. Game of the Year nominees are Alan Wake 2. Have not played it. Heard excellent things about it. Baldur's Gate 3. Have not played it. Heard excellent things about it. Will be playing both of those. Definitely. I was going to say soon, but I don't know when. Marvel Spider-Man 2. Again, heard excellent things about it.
Going to be playing.
That probably very soon. Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4? I thought that was... I'm not even going to try the shtick. Never mind.
Should Resident Evil 4 be Game of the Year nominated?
What, just because it's a remake, you don't think it should be? I think it's perfectly fine for remakes to be nominated.
I feel awkward about it. Also, was it that good that it deserves Game of the Year?
I don't know. We didn't play it.
Here's how I feel. If I worked really hard to create something that I thought was amazing and it was new and, it was a labor of love, and then somebody else just remake something that has already been made before and it beats me in any competition,
well,
I'm disappointed.
The original. I got you. I got you. Very good point. That's a very good point.
Right, like it's not to take away from. It's not to take away from the greatness of whatever has been remade, but like
everybody else is like, we built these from the ground up.
Right. I'm not saying right or wrong, but I'm saying if that was me, I'd be real upset.
It's a remake, not a remaster. In its defense.
Okay.
And secondly, look at notice something about every single one of those titles on this list.
They're all sequels.
Every single one of them. I know it's different for a remaster, or a remake, but
so they're all brand new minus Tears of the Kingdom, because we're reusing the same map there, so there is something to be said about that. But yeah, Resident Evil 4 is the most not new of the games there. It's a good point. I never thought of that. My bigger question is what I said, and we can't answer it. Was it that good that it deserves Game of the Year nomination? I don't know. I mean, I know people really liked it, but I also heard backlash about stuff too. I don't know. No, I guess I would have to play it to comment, and I won't be doing that. So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's on my list to eventually play when it comes down in price, but I don't know. I'm a little bit different. I'm starting to see things a little bit more from your point of view as I get older.
Yeah,
because if this were me 5 years ago, day one I would have been playing Resident Evil 4 remake. I don't know. I'm kind of like taking it slow. I don't know what to say.
Also included.
You don't have it yet.
Game of the Year: Super Mario Brothers Wonder and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. So really, the only one I take issue with is Resident Evil 4, but because of my stance on remakes. So,
but if you think about it, it's unfair because it's not a remake, but like Super Mario Wonder is kind of a remake of the Mario franchise in a way. Like the old school Mario games. They redid the whole thing. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, that's right. It's just a brand new 2D platformer.
I don't know anything about.
Well, from what I heard, they took out the best scene in the whole game.
Took out my favorite boss fight. I know that.
They took out the best boss and the coolest scene in the whole game. I don't know why they did that.
Right. So they edited it out, but what did they do and change that makes it different or
I don't know. They probably had to redo computer
there's all new stuff in there. There's new level design and stuff in there. It's not like a shot for shot, stage for stage remake. There's your Game of the Year nominees. So congrats to all of them.
I would go. I mean,
I just mean like Mario Wonder has. There's a lot of new elements and stuff.
Mhm.
Even Tears of the Kingdom, as similar as it is to Breath of the Wild, there's different mechanics and
Yeah.
you know,
That's what I said. I can meet somebody halfway on
different-
Tears of the Kingdom with that argument because you do have the same overworld, but then you have the depths and the sky, and then the whole,
Yeah.
the fusing mechanic on top of all that. Like, yeah, it's not as clear cut with it. But if somebody was going to try and make that argument, I would be like, all right, I'll concede a point there, certainly. But
was Hi-Fi Rush this year?
yes. Speaking of that, Hi-Fi Rush. We're talking about best score in music. I'm going to skip to Alan Wake 2. I don't know. Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know. Final Fantasy 14. I'm sorry, Final Fantasy 16. I will say I've played a good chunk of it so far, and the music is really nice, but I have been disappointed by the music overall. So I guess that's just a
For
me
what,
thing.
the Final Fantasy 16?
So far, there's really nice music in it, and there's some great boss songs, but I have not been impressed to the level that I was expecting with it. Hi-Fi Rush is nominated for Best Score in Music. Now, see, I love that game. And music is a huge part of the game. But as far as the music itself, there's songs I like and there's songs I don't like. So I don't know. That's a tough one for me. And then Tears of the Kingdom is nominated as well. Some great songs in there. But again, I love that soundtrack, but I don't know if it's best soundtrack worthy. I don't know. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Let's go back to Game of the Year real quick. What
Sure.
would you say is yours?
that was something you were going to do this year, right? Have you?
I'm going to put
maintained a
together
list,
our.
or-
Yes, I have a running list, but like titles and titles long. I haven't. We're going to do a Game of the Year and all that crap this year. What are you asking me? What's my pick here?
Yeah, I mean, I know we haven't played more than.
Yeah, I
half.
can't. I can't.
I guess
pick.
I'm just saying between Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom, which would you pick?
Just between those two.
Well, those are the only two we played.
See, the problem is both of them have a major brand new mechanic that fundamentally changes how gameplay works.
Which is the Game of the Year out of those two?
I would go Tears of the Kingdom.
Really?
Yes.
That's what I would have said too.
Because I feel that is the more difficult of the two to make. Not saying Wonder was easy to make, but the gameplay mechanics added in Tears of the Kingdom and how they really open up gameplay is mind-boggling, whereas the Wonder stuff in Mario is amazing and a ton of fun to do, and I loved every bit of it. But that is more of, we made this and you play it this way, where
Yeah.
Zelda's like, we made this, do whatever you want.
Well, I was going to say Super Mario Wonder or Super Mario Bros. Wonder is a game, whereas Tears of the Kingdom is like a much deeper immersive experience that like you can spend hours in this entire world, whereas Super Mario Brothers Wonder, you play the levels from beginning to end. You don't explore and you don't do all this other stuff. And so
If you want all the hidden stuff, you explore. But I agree. I get what you're saying.
You only explore within the confines, like
Yeah.
you just said. Like you play the game how they want you to play it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really fair to compare a 2D side scroller to an open world game. Like they're two completely different types of gameplay.
No, but the full experience is just. I mean, but that's depending on your preferences.
Yeah, that's
so really. I mean, to go back to like the argument of, how do you choose Game of the Year or whatever? Maybe it needs to be broken down into like best, 2D Game of the Year.
Well, there's still going to be
best
Game of the Year overall. That's always
Yeah.
going to happen. That's the biggest one. I whenever I look at any of these awards, I try to look outside my own experience and myself and recognize what the game does and how it does it. And that's it. Just so happens this year, Tears of the Kingdom lines. If I'm only picking between those two, but I got 4 others to play there, so I can't. I'm most excited out of that 4 for Alan Wake 2, probably, just because I love Remedy. So, but I'm very much looking forward to playing all of those. We did best performance. Does it matter? We can't even talk about any of them. So nope.
We can't
Best-
talk about them.
Well, we got
haven't
nothing to
played-
say.
We haven't played
Yeah.
them.
As best performance, the only one I got is Final Fantasy 16, but we can't really say anything.
I'm glad Starfield didn't get into the best game.
Starfield was snubbed all around, as far as I know, minus I don't know if minus anything. We'll see. Best independent game. This caused quite the stir. Nominated this year: Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. I have played Cocoon. I have played Dredge. I have played Sea of Stars. I was just playing Sea of Stars last night. I have not played Dave the Diver, but I soon will. And Viewfinder interested me, but it's the furthest down my list. Here's the problem. What exactly is an independent game? Because Dave the Diver is published by a huge company.
Yeah, we could tell. Look at that fancy.
But it's made by a very small
Well,
small
it's-
team. I don't want to say
The
independent team.
independent is the making part of it, not the distribution, right?
But that's the thing. Independent means independent of everything. A publisher.
Not necessarily.
Well, this is the debate. I'm not telling you one way is right or wrong, but there's
Isn't it
been
the
like
same with films and stuff, an independent film, but like then they go to film festivals and they get picked up and distributed by somebody. It doesn't make them less independent.
well, don't tell me.
They're
This is the
independently
argument. I'm just
produced.
telling you what's
That's
going
kinda
on.
How I was thinking.
I would
it
think
was
it's
too, but
independently produced, and distribution is another side of the business.
Is this a debate, or is this just a
Yes.
question that you part?
No, massive. It's huge. Like the backlash has been absolutely massive. I'm gonna bring up. Give me 1 second, because there's tons and tons and tons of articles about it.
What the heck? Wait a minute. Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Should facts or vibes determine whether an indie game is really indie? The indie label is losing its meaning, and it's a big problem for gaming. What's going on with the indies at the Game Awards? The Game Awards faces backlash for Dave the Diver nomination. Like, it's all over the place.
Well, here's a question.
So, are we saying that? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Are we saying that like big companies are now gonna start making indie-looking games to take over like a quote indie market or something?
No, I'm going to
No,
read you
they'll-
exactly.
they'll-
I'm going to read you exactly what's going on.
They'll distribute.
Typically, indie games are a title made without funding from a big publisher and created by a smaller team. Given its lack of support, the team is free to create something they want to make, although they may face financial struggles during development. Mint Rocket, the team behind Dave the Diver, while similar to indie developers and it's a smaller group of developers, it's a subsidiary of Nexon, which is $1 billion corporation.
Well, so that's like a different situation.
Well,
That's
a
not-
publisher funding
that's
part
not-
of the game, but they're not making it. That's the question.
No, but like the way I interpret
No.
that is that's not necessarily somebody made the game and then a distributor or a publisher came and picked it up to publish it. It's more like
They own the company.
like
It's
Microsoft
part of the-
owns I don't
Yes.
even know game company names, and so they are a small unit within the company and they're making games for the bigger company to distribute. But so that is a different part of the
Makes it
story
feel a lot less independent that way to me.
because they're being funded by a larger company.
So
So just to make that clear, like that is a different situation than a small company making a game, then finding and selling it to a distributor or a publisher who's going to get
but
it
a
out
publisher will also give them money to help develop the game,
Could I offer that
like Yacht Club, for example.
it depends on
They're-
what the money entitles to the funder? Like if
They're gonna
I'm
make
if
money.
I'm funding this, but do I get to say how you do things? Or do you know what I mean? Like
That's
if
for
the money
each publisher
gives,
and developer to decide.
so I would say you maintain your independent status if you are allowed to make independent decisions about what's happening, and you lose your independent status the moment that money has an impact on your decisions.
But still, then
just doesn't
all
make-
of them will be out because then the publisher is using the money to figure. They're going to handle advertising.
it just doesn't make sense to me. If a company is purchased or acquired by a larger company, now they are working for that company.
So you're
That's
saying in
interesting.
that case, it's out.
It shouldn't be there.
Okay. So then in the case of like a yacht club, where a yacht club didn't buy the company that made Cyber Shadow, but they did give them money to make Cyber Shadow and they oversaw it.
How big is Yacht Club?
See, this is why this is a whole discussion. How big's Yacht Club? I don't know, 20, 30 people.
No, so explain the situation again, though. Sorry, because I was hung up on Yacht Club because
Cyber
I thought,
Shadow-
Yacht Club is an independent company.
Cyber Shadow, well, they are. Cyber Shadow was developed by a guy. He was already working on the game. Yacht Club saw the game and they were like, we'll give you money for you to make this game. He said, okay. They oversaw the project. If he needed help, they helped. But it was his project.
Okay.
And then they published the game. So is
But-
that indie or not?
But you just said Yacht Club is an independent company.
Well, they are. But that would mean, but if they're stepping in as a publisher for somebody else and funding a project, that would make them something more than that when it comes to somebody else's game. For Yacht Club's own games, yes, they're independent. But if Yacht Club is
But it's not-
funding
I don't-
development of another
it's not
game,
an argument of independent as in like, I'm one person and I independently I made this all by myself. Or
I was
like a
just
small
using
team.
that as an example.
But it's independent in the sense of like the size of the numbers and where that money is coming from.
So what if a small company gave somebody $1 million? Like what if it's a team of 10 people, they gave a company, give somebody else $1 million?
The same thing with films. $1 million doesn't make it a big blockbuster movie. It's still within that circle, because when with film and stuff like that, then they become a producer or something, or an executive producer. So they have the potential for like creative input or something, but that
Mhm.
still doesn't make it less independent. Like it's independent from the larger brands.
I'm
I
not
would
trying to
think.
argue any of it. I'm just saying this is the debate going on, and this is
Right.
why it's happening. So I don't have an answer for you.
I mean, nothing is black and white with it. So like you're gonna have those gray periods. But
But
in my opinion,
in this instance,
when
you're
a company,
saying,
when it's a multi-billion-dollar company, like
Yeah.
when it's a huge corporation that owns a smaller, that has acquired at some point a smaller
Yeah.
company, and they still keep that company in its own little bubble, and they put them in an office space, they're still making a game for that larger corporation.
Mhm.
So like, yes, I kind of feel like
for the
that.
financial gain of the
So,
larger corporation.
Yeah.
but then there would have to be a point where you say a company has to be worth this much or has to have this many employees, where if somebody does a game with them, they're not considered independent anymore. Like between a yacht club and a next, they're not considered independent anymore. Like between a yacht club and a Nexon, there has to be a somewhere where you're like, that's the cutoff point.
I don't know. I don't.
Because then, like, EA has their independent publishing label for indie games where EA is funding, but they don't own the company.
Independent publishing.
Well, they do it independent from their regular EA label. They call it
There's
something else.
independent. There's companies who are making these games.
Mhm.
But
it's EA.
They're publishing. They're not producing.
They are funding too.
So you keep throwing that in later, so I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Any publisher is going to fund a little bit. They're going to take on some of the development costs, no matter what.
I mean, whatever. When it comes to film and stuff, there's large companies that break off small, focus film or focus features, and like what Miramax has. What's the Miramax one? They're out there. Like all these companies have smaller companies that can help fund these smaller things. I don't know.
So that's why this debate is happening, because in reality, nobody knows, and everybody's going to have a different answer. And some people might align over here, and some people might align over there. So that's why that one article says, "Is indie just a vibe?" I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Now that you've talked about it, and I've sat here listening politely, I have no clue, and that's why it's not so cut and dry. And I resonated most with what Mom Brain was saying, because it was more about the final piece, the art, the actual thing we get to play, and everything else is just noise until it becomes more than just noise.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So in that case, is it a vibe? I don't know.
I still think it's for me to consider something independent. Like I would hate to see someone's vision not come to fruition because they didn't have the money to do it. So I
Yeah.
see no problem with taking money from a bigger corporation, whatever, as long as, well, you could do it whatever you want, but I will still consider it independent up to the point that whoever's giving you the money has a say in what you do, then you are no longer independent.
Yeah, and then there's the whole muddied waters of the company might not say anything literally, but the developers keep in mind, like, we're making this for this. We probably shouldn't do this
Well, that's
because.
still, you're still making that decision for yourself.
But it's in you are, but you're doing it with the company's interests, your corporate overlords in
You
mind.
can't say with certainty, but I do agree with that. So if that goes counter from what I said before, then I'm just dumb and
Hey,
and
it's
hypocritical.
no,
But, like,
it's a confusing situation.
but-
Again, there's no right or wrong answer here.
but I would 100% expect if a large company is putting up the money to like fully finance a project, that they're going to be stepping in. Like they are not giving full like autonomy or whatever. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, I think it's like a naive perspective to say,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean,
I don't know is the right answer. Yeah, because like everything as far as vibe and spirit and team and all that is indie when it comes to Dave the Diver, without a doubt.
Right.
Like no question. But the ownership by Nexon is what people are like. Is it Nexon? I keep saying Nexon. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, let's also look at just, award ceremonies and stuff and how they take things and put them in under the wrong label and just to give them
It is
to highlight
Nexon.
them or give
Well,
them a
that's the
chance in a
thing.
different way.
Is it the wrong? Like Jeff Keighley knows video games. He's not taking this decision lightly. And there's an argument for that game to be indie, and there's an argument
not
for
the
that
only
game not to
person
be indie.
making these choosing these lists though.
Well, he's the guy that runs the show. There's not going to be like, well, I guess I got to do this. It's his show. Yes, he has a team of like 13 people who nominate games, but if he's going to feel Dave the Diver doesn't go into
the
indie,
nomination situation works?
yeah, it's a whole team of people.
But that's how it works. Because like I feel like with like the Oscars and stuff or Emmys, the people who make them and feel like it's worthy or whatever, like they initiate the nomination. Like they say this, like for your consideration, like please.
His are pooled from a whole bunch of people, and if it gets enough votes, then it gets included in the category.
Okay.
But he still has final say over all of it because he's the Dorito Pope. It's
So
his thing.
these are
Yeah.
essentially his choices.
It's like,
I mean, we
if-
talked about this last.
It's like
year.
if Oscar were still alive, he'd have final say over all the nominees. But he's gone now, so now it's a committee. So when the Dorito Pope passes on, that's when things are going to get a little
That's,
dicey.
that's right.
Who's Oscar? Oscar was the
De La Hoya.
driver. Was he the
I honestly
talking about the movie?
Oh,
He was the Grouch. So yeah, that one category has caused all kinds of debate. So we'll see what happens there.